Standing outside the Grand Marriott in my navy blue dress, clutching my small purse, I felt that familiar flutter of excitement mixed with nervousness. It had been months since I had seen my family, and today was supposed to be special. My sister Sarah was getting married, and despite our complicated history, I was genuinely happy for her. I pictured her in that stunning white gown she had sent me photos of, radiant and glowing on her perfect day. The anticipation of celebrating with family after so long made my heart race with hope. I never imagined that my own sister's wedding would be the day I discovered I was no longer considered family. Before I share what happened next, let me know in the comments where you are watching from, and please hit that like button and subscribe for more real stories that will absolutely shock you. Trust me, you will not believe how this family drama unfolded and what I did about it. Let me take you back to the beginning so you understand how we got here. My name is Josephine, and I was adopted into the Anderson family when I was 8 years old. My biological parents died in a horrific car accident on a rainy October night, and I had no other relatives who could take me in. Katherine and David Anderson opened their home to me during the darkest period of my life. They had been trying to have children for years without success, and I thought maybe we could heal each other's wounds. For 2 wonderful years, I believed I had found my forever family. David taught me how to ride a bike and helped with my homework every night. Katherine would braid my hair and make my favorite chocolate chip pancakes on Sunday mornings. I called them Mom and Dad, and they seemed genuinely happy to have me. I felt secure, loved, and like I truly belonged somewhere again. Everything changed when Sarah was born. I was 10 years old when this tiny, perfect baby arrived and completely shifted the dynamics of our household. Katherine's attention immediately focused entirely on Sarah, and I suddenly became an afterthought. The bedtime stories stopped. The pancakes became a thing of the past. Even my adoption anniversary, which we used to celebrate every year, was quietly forgotten. Throughout my childhood, the favoritism became more and more obvious. Sarah got the bigger bedroom when she turned 5, while I kept the small room in the back of the house. When Sarah wanted piano lessons, Katherine enrolled her immediately and bragged about her talent to everyone. When I asked to join the school debate team, I was told we could not afford the fees. Every birthday party was elaborate for Sarah, complete with themed decorations and dozens of friends. My birthdays were quiet affairs, with store-bought cake and maybe one friend allowed over. The inequality hurt, but I told myself it was normal for parents to favor their biological children. I tried harder to earn Katherine's approval, getting excellent grades and helping with household chores without being asked. Nothing seemed to matter. When David died of a sudden heart attack during my junior year of high school, any remaining warmth between Katherine and me completely disappeared. I was 16 and grieving the loss of the only father figure I had ever known, but Katherine was too consumed with her own sorrow to comfort me. She also seemed to blame me somehow, as if caring for an adopted child had somehow stressed David and contributed to his death. The house became cold and unwelcoming, and I spent most of my time studying or working part-time jobs to save money for college. I put myself through university, working multiple jobs while maintaining a scholarship. Katherine never attended my graduation ceremony, claiming she needed to stay home with Sarah, who apparently had a mild cold that day. After college, I moved across the state for my career as a certified public accountant and gradually reduced contact with my family. Phone calls became brief and infrequent. Holiday visits became awkward and tense. The last 5 years had been peaceful for me. I built a successful career, made genuine friendships, and learned to appreciate the family I had chosen rather than the one I was born into. When Sarah's wedding invitation arrived via email, I was surprised but hopeful that maybe this event could help us reconnect as sisters. Now standing in the opulent lobby of the Grand Marriott, I admired the gold-plated fixtures and crystal chandeliers hanging overhead. Fresh white orchids adorned every surface, and the scent of expensive perfume and champagne floated through the air. This was clearly an upscale affair, and I felt proud that Sarah had found success and happiness. I approached the elegant check-in table, where a young woman with perfectly curled blonde hair and a bright smile was managing the guest list. Her name tag read Emma, and she looked like she could not have been older than 22. "Good evening," I said with confidence. "I am Josephine Anderson, sister of the bride." Emma's fingers flew across her tablet screen, and then she paused. Her smile faltered slightly as she scrolled through the list again, her brow furrowing in concentration. "I am sorry, ma'am, but I do not see a Josephine Anderson on our guest list," she said apologetically. Confused, I leaned closer to the table. "Could you check again, please? I am Sarah's older sister. Perhaps it is under a different spelling." Emma called over her supervisor, a tall man in his 30s, named Marcus, who also searched through their digital records. He shook his head slowly after several minutes of checking and double-checking. "Ma'am, we have been very thorough with our list management, and there is definitely no Josephine Anderson registered for this event," Marcus confirmed with professional politeness. Heat rose in my cheeks as I became aware of other guests waiting behind me, their curious glances making me increasingly uncomfortable. This had to be some sort of mistake, a clerical error that could easily be resolved. "Could I please speak with Sarah? She can clear this up immediately," I requested, trying to keep my voice steady. "The bride is currently with the photographer in the bridal suite and cannot be disturbed," Emma explained. However, I could try to locate the mother of the bride if that would be helpful. Before I could respond, I heard Catherine's unmistakable voice calling my name from across the lobby. I turned to see her approaching, dressed in an elegant pink pastel dress with matching jewelry that caught the light beautifully. She looked well-maintained and confident, every inch the proud mother of the bride. "Katherine," I said with relief as she reached our group. "Thank goodness you're here. There seems to be some confusion about my name not being on the guest list." Catherine's expression did not show the surprise or concern I expected. Instead, she looked at me with cold, calculating eyes that I remembered from my teenage years. Her perfectly applied lipstick curved into a slight smirk that sent an immediate chill down my spine. "Did you really think you were invited?" she asked with casual cruelty. The words hit me like a physical blow. "Excuse me. Strangers are not allowed at private family events." Katherine continued, her voice growing louder and more confident. "This is a celebration for Sarah's real family and friends." I stared at her in complete shock, unable to process what I was hearing. "Stranger Katherine, I am your daughter." Her laugh was sharp and dismissive. "You are not my real daughter, Josephine. Sarah is my only child. You were just a charity case we took in, and frankly, I think we have been more than generous over the years." The lobby suddenly felt like it was spinning around me. I gripped the edge of the check-in table to steady myself as Catherine's words echoed in my mind. Emma and Marcus had stepped back awkwardly, clearly uncomfortable witnessing this family drama unfold in their professional space. My heart pounded as memories flooded back, each one now reframed through this new lens of Catherine's true feelings. Every missed birthday, every forgotten achievement, every cold interaction suddenly made perfect sense. I had not been imagining the favoritism and emotional distance. I had been living as an unwanted burden for over 20 years. But instead of breaking down or begging for inclusion, something unexpected happened inside me. A strange calm settled over my entire body, and I felt my spine straighten. Years of therapy and building my own life had given me strength I did not know I possessed. I stood there silently for several long moments, allowing Catherine's cruelty to fully sink in. She seemed to interpret my silence as defeat, because her smirk grew wider and more satisfied. "I should have expected this reaction," she continued. "You always were overly dramatic and entitled." The other wedding guests were beginning to stare now, and I could hear hushed whispers starting to circulate through the lobby. This was supposed to be Sarah's perfect day, and Katherine had chosen to humiliate me in the most public way possible. When I finally spoke, my voice was eerily calm and controlled. "Then I will live like a stranger." Katherine's expression faltered slightly, as if she had expected tears or pleading instead of this composed response. I turned to leave, but just then Sarah appeared at the top of the grand staircase in her breathtaking wedding gown. The dress was everything I had imagined and more, with intricate lace details and a train that flowed behind her like liquid silk. She looked absolutely radiant, like a fairy tale princess coming to life. When Sarah spotted me, her face registered what appeared to be genuine surprise. She gathered her skirts carefully and descended the stairs, her eyes darting nervously between Katherine and me. "Josephine," she called out as she approached. "What are you doing here?" The question stung because of how it was phrased. Not, "I am so glad you came," or "You look beautiful," but questioning my very presence at her wedding. "I received an invitation," I replied simply. But apparently there was some confusion about the guest list. Sarah glanced quickly at Katherine, who gave her an almost imperceptible nod. In that silent exchange, I realized this was not a mistake or misunderstanding. This exclusion had been planned and deliberate. "Mom handles all the guest list details," Sarah said carefully, avoiding direct eye contact with me. Maybe there was some kind of error in the system. Her words sounded hollow and rehearsed. We both knew there had been no error. "Maybe it is better this way," Sarah continued, her voice growing stronger. "Today is really about my family, and I want everything to be perfect." Michael, Sarah's groom, appeared beside her in his sharp black tuxedo. He was a handsome man with kind eyes, but when he looked at me, his expression was blank and polite, like I was a complete stranger who had somehow wandered into their private event. "Michael, this is someone I used to know," Sarah said by way of introduction, not even using my name. The phrase cut deep. Someone I used to know. Not my sister, or even my adopted sister, but someone from her distant past who no longer held any significance. Michael nodded politely and shook my hand, with the distant courtesy reserved for unwanted interruptions. "Nice to meet you," he said without any real warmth. I realized in that moment that Sarah had probably never even told her husband-to-be that she had an adopted sister. I had been erased from her narrative completely, like I had never existed in their family at all. The small group stood there in awkward silence, with wedding guests continuing to stream past us into the reception hall. I could hear the string quartet playing soft classical music and the gentle clink of champagne glasses from the party that I was not welcome to join. Katherine looked triumphant, like she had finally gotten rid of a problem that had been bothering her for decades. Sarah appeared relieved, as if my departure would allow her to enjoy her perfect day without any complications from the past. I took one final look at my sister in her stunning gown, memorizing the image, because I knew it would be the last time I would ever see her. Then I turned around and walked through the elegant lobby, with my head held high, past the crystal chandeliers and flower arrangements, past the check-in table where Emma and Marcus were pretending to be busy with their paperwork. The automatic doors slid open, and I stepped out into the cool evening air. Behind me, I could hear the sounds of celebration continuing without any pause or acknowledgement of what had just occurred. My absence would not be noticed or mourned by anyone in that room. I drove home to my apartment in complete silence, not even turning on the radio. Once inside, I went directly to my bedroom closet and pulled out a cardboard box that I had not touched in years. Inside were dozens of family photographs from my childhood school awards, and mementos from holidays and birthdays with the Andersons. Looking through those images now felt like reviewing evidence from someone else's life. In every family photo, the difference in body language was obvious. Katherine and David stood close to Sarah, their hands resting protectively on her shoulders, while I stood slightly apart, my smile bright but my positioning clearly indicating my outsider status. I carried the entire box to my kitchen table and began sorting through 2 decades of memories. Birthday photos where Sarah's celebrations were elaborate productions, while mine were simple affairs. Christmas mornings where Sarah's pile of presents towered over mine. School events where Katherine beamed proudly at Sarah's participation while barely acknowledging my achievements. By midnight, I had made my decision. I opened my laptop and began researching the legal process for officially changing my name. If I was going to live like a stranger to the Anderson family, then I would become a complete stranger in every legal and practical sense. I also drafted emails to several colleagues about potential job opportunities in other states. My accounting skills were in high demand, and I had always wanted to try living somewhere completely new. This seemed like the perfect opportunity to start over entirely. The next morning, I mailed a certified letter to Katherine and Sarah, informing them that I would never contact them again, and requesting that they respect my desire for complete separation. I changed my phone number, deactivated my social media accounts, and began the process of removing myself from their lives as thoroughly as they had removed me from their wedding. 6 months later, I was living in a beautiful apartment in San Francisco with a stunning view of the bay. The morning fog would roll in over the water each day, and I would drink my coffee while watching the city wake up below me. It felt like living in a completely different world from my previous life. My career had flourished in ways I never expected. I had been promoted to financial director at a growing technology startup, and my expertise in accounting and financial planning was genuinely valued and appreciated. My new colleagues treated me with respect and included me in company social events, making me feel like a valued team member for the first time in my professional life. I had also met James, a freelance photographer who specialized in capturing the natural beauty of the California coastline. He was gentle, funny, and completely uninterested in my family drama. When I told him I had no contact with relatives, he simply accepted it without prying for details or trying to fix the situation. Our relationship was refreshingly honest and straightforward. James had grown up in a loving family and could not quite understand how parents could treat their children with such conditional love, but he never made me feel damaged or broken because of my experiences. I started taking yoga classes on Saturday mornings and learning to play acoustic guitar in the evenings. For the first time in my adult life, I was building an identity based entirely on my own interests and choices without any shadow of family expectations or disappointments. The Anderson family had become like a distant memory, something that happened to a different version of myself. I never looked them up online or asked mutual acquaintances for updates. I had successfully created the clean break that Katherine had wanted, and it turned out to be the best gift she could have given me. Then one night at 2 o'clock in the morning, my phone rang. I almost did not answer because it was an unknown number, but something made me pick up on the 5th ring. Katherine's voice on the other end was barely recognizable. She sounded frantic, desperate, and much older than when I had last heard her speak. "Josephine, please do not hang up," she said immediately, her words tumbling over each other in panic. I sat up in bed, instantly alert but silent. "Sarah is in the hospital," Katherine continued. "There was an accident. A drunk driver hit their car on Highway 101. Michael is okay, but Sarah is in critical condition. She needs surgery immediately, and her blood type is rare. The doctor said your blood type would be compatible for transfusion." I listened to this information with the detached interest of someone hearing about strangers' problems. It felt surreal to hear Sarah's name after months of not thinking about her at all. "I need your help," Katherine pleaded. "I know things ended badly between us, but please, she is your sister." The irony of that statement was not lost on me. 6 months ago, Katherine had publicly declared that Sarah was her only child and that I was just a stranger who was not welcome at family events. Now, in her moment of desperate need, I had suddenly become Sarah's sister again. I stayed quiet for several long moments, listening to Katherine's increasingly frantic breathing on the other end of the line. When I finally spoke, my voice was calm and steady. "I am sorry, but I do not know anyone named Sarah." "What?" Katherine gasped. "You made it very clear to me that I am a stranger to your family," I continued. "Strangers do not get involved in private family matters." "I was wrong," Katherine cried. "I was terrible and cruel, and I am sorry. Please, I will do anything to make it up to you, but I need you to help save her life." "You had 18 years to be sorry, Katherine. It is too late now." I hung up and turned off my phone completely. James stirred beside me in bed. "Everything okay?" he asked sleepily. "Just a wrong number," I replied, settling back under the covers. He wrapped his arms around me protectively, and I felt completely at peace with my decision. Katherine's emergency did not constitute an obligation on my part. I had been dismissed from their family, and that dismissal came with consequences that she would have to live with. The next morning, I received several missed calls and voicemails from the same unknown number, but I deleted them all without listening. I also received a desperate email from Katherine, which I immediately moved to my spam folder. 2 days later, Katherine appeared at my office building in downtown San Francisco. I was coming back from lunch when the security guard at the front desk stopped me. "Ma'am, there is a woman here who claims to be your mother," he said. "She has been waiting for over an hour and refuses to leave." I looked across the lobby and saw Katherine sitting in one of the modern chairs near the floor-to-ceiling windows. She looked terrible. Her hair was unwashed and gray at the roots. Her clothes were wrinkled, like she had slept in them, and her face was swollen from crying. When she saw me, she jumped up and hurried over to where I stood with the security guard. "Josephine, thank God," she said, reaching out to grab my arm. "Please, I am begging you. Sarah's condition is getting worse. The doctor said she only has a few days without the transfusion." I looked at her with the same polite but distant expression I would give to any stranger who was bothering me in my workplace. "Sir," I said to the security guard, "this woman is a stranger who is harassing me. Could you please have her removed from the premises?" "Ma'am, you will need to leave immediately, or we will call the police," the guard told Katherine firmly. Katherine's face crumpled with devastation. "You cannot do this," she whispered. "She is dying." "Then I suggest you contact the hospital's blood bank services," I replied coolly. "That is what they are there for." I walked to the elevator bank and pressed the button for my floor. As the door slid shut, I could see Katherine collapsing into the lobby chair, sobbing uncontrollably. Several of my colleagues witnessed the scene, but I offered no explanation. It truly was none of their business. From my office window on the 15th floor, I watched Katherine stumble out of the building and collapse against a tree in the courtyard. She stayed there for nearly an hour crying and making phone calls before finally giving up and walking back to the parking garage. I felt no guilt, no second thoughts, and no regret about my decision. Katherine had taught me that family loyalty was conditional and could be revoked at any time for any reason. She was now experiencing the consequences of her own lesson. 1 month later, I was reading the local news online when I came across Sarah's obituary. According to the article, she had died from complications related to severe blood loss after the car accident. The obituary painted her as a beloved daughter, wife, and community volunteer who had touched many lives with her kindness and generosity. Katherine had submitted a final email to me that simply read, "I hope you are happy now." I deleted it immediately without responding and blocked her email address permanently. There was nothing left to say between us, and I had no intention of engaging with her grief or accusations. The obituary listed Sarah's survivors as her husband Michael and her mother Katherine Anderson. There was no mention of any sisters or other family members. Even in death, I had been erased from Sarah's official story. I felt a strange sense of closure reading those final words about her life. This confirmed that my decision to walk away completely had been the right choice. Sarah and Katherine had gotten exactly the family dynamic they had always wanted, just the two of them, without any complications from unwanted outsiders. 3 months after Sarah's funeral, James proposed to me on a beautiful Saturday morning at Golden Gate Bridge. He had planned an elaborate surprise with a picnic overlooking the bay, and when he got down on one knee, I knew, without any doubt, that I wanted to spend my life with him. Our wedding was everything that Sarah's reception was supposed to be for me, warm, welcoming, and filled with people who genuinely loved and supported us. We invited close friends, James's wonderful family, and my chosen family of colleagues and mentors, who had become important parts of my life over the years. Not one person at our celebration questioned my worth or treated me like an outsider. The speeches were full of love and genuine affection, and I felt surrounded by people who had chosen to include me in their lives because they valued who I was as a person. James and I bought a house in Mill Valley with a garden where I could grow vegetables and a studio space where he could develop his photography. We talked about starting our own family and what kind of parents we wanted to be for our future children. When I became pregnant with our daughter 2 years later, I made a promise to myself that she would never experience conditional love or emotional manipulation from her parents. She would know from the moment she was born that her place in our family was secure and permanent. Aurora was born on a sunny Tuesday morning in March, and when I held her for the first time, I understood what unconditional love actually felt like. Looking into her perfect little face, I could not imagine any circumstance that would make me stop loving her or exclude her from my life. When Aurora turned 3 and started asking questions about grandparents, I told her simply that James's parents were her grandparents and that my original family had died when I was very young. It was not technically a lie because the family I had tried to belong to with the Andersons had never actually existed. It had been an illusion based on legal paperwork rather than genuine emotional connection. James's parents embraced me completely as their daughter-in-law and Aurora as their granddaughter. They showed me what healthy family relationships looked like, with open communication, mutual respect, and love that was never threatened or withdrawn as punishment. Looking back now, I realize that Katherine's cruelty at Sarah's wedding was actually the greatest gift she could have given me. By forcing me to confront the reality of my position in their family, she freed me to build something much better with people who actually wanted me in their lives. I learned that being called a stranger by those who should love you is not the end of your story. It is actually the beginning of your freedom. Some bridges are meant to be burned when they only lead back to pain and disappointment. The phone call that changed everything stopped ringing a long time ago, and I have never been happier about a decision to let it go to voicemail. Today, I have a family that chose me and I chose them back. That is the only kind of family relationship worth having. Sometimes the most loving thing you can do for yourself is walk away from people who do not know how to love you properly, and sometimes the people who hurt you the most end up teaching you the most valuable lessons about what real love actually looks like. What do you think about my decision to walk away from my adoptive family? Have you ever had to cut ties with toxic family members? Let me know in the comments below, and please hit that like button if this story resonated with you. Don't forget to subscribe for more real-life stories about overcoming family drama and finding your chosen family. Share this video with anyone who might need to hear that it's okay to prioritize your own well-being over family obligations. Thank you so much for listening to my story, and I wish you all the courage to build the loving relationships you deserve in your own lives.